Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Musart, and I am here to talk about the second chapter of this book, Neurodrama Discipline by Daniel Siegel and Tina Bryson. I'm just providing a brief summary, and if you watch my first video, this is the second chapter. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot on why I'm doing this on this video, and just going to really go into the meat of this chapter. Now, the second chapter is really about a little bit of understanding of the brain. Now, some of you might have an understanding that the brain is like this, right? There's two parts to it. There's the right brain and the left brain. Now, they do work together, and we really want them to work together because that's where this idea of the wise mind comes in. And what happens though sometimes is that the right brain is specialized in certain things. So for example, artistic endeavors, right brain. Emotions, we have an amygdala, right brain. Left brain is linear, logical, loves the fact that things are in L and shapes, and it's very, very orderly left brain. However, there is also this idea of the what they call the downstairs brain and the upstairs brain. And in a subsequent video, I might do a detailed, but this is a handy model of the brain. And the way, so it would be kind of like this, however, for purposes of learning, and even teaching children, which they do ask that you teach your children about the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain. And then they even later talk about this idea of the upstairs brain hugging the downstairs brain. But the upstairs brain is the part of the brain where we have the capacity to be empathetic, compassionate, to have foresight, to be able to look at the bigger picture. This is where our wise mind decision making comes in. What's wise mind decision making? Wise mind decision making is when we are able to make decisions not purely on emotions. I really want this candy, I'm going to get it. It's also not very purely on logic. Candy means calories, so no candy at all, right? That's very rigid. So we don't want to be rigid, and we don't want to be completely emotional. We don't want to be in any extreme, but we want to be in wise mind. Wise mind says, okay, this whole week we didn't have candy. A candy once a week may not hurt. And that answer can be different for everybody. A diabetic might have a different answer for that, for example, right? So the idea is that we want to use our whole brain to come up with the answer. So they talk about the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain. Now, the downstairs brain is where the amygdala is. And if you look at the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain, now the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain are all the time connected. When they are not connected, that you have this idea of flipping out. That's when you're activated and you're triggered, and you actually lose connection with the cortex. This is the now I'm forgetting the name, but the brainstem, and connects to the brainstem, but the lower limbic brain, right? So this is the downstairs brain, where if you think about a house, and the brain is like a house, a 2-story house, where the bottom floor has certain things that are ready, and the upstairs floor is not ready. Now, a child is a house where certain parts are built. They can cry, they can ask for their needs, they have emotions that they feel. However, the upstairs brain, they don't have the language. They cannot articulate their emotions. So upstairs brain is building, there's still construction happening. And so it's really important that we use our upstairs brain to help them to build their upstairs brain. So there's that discussion of the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain. Now, another concept that they introduce in this chapter is the 3 C's of the brain. What are the 3 C's of the brain? The 3 C's of the brain are that, number 1, the brain is changing. Now, when a child is born, there's a lot of neuronal growth that's happening. 0 to 3, large period where there's a lot of growth happening, and then and between age 12 and 26, there's also a lot of neuronal growth as well. And there's this idea of use it or lose it. So even neurons, like we have neurons that cut off their synapses. I hope I'm scientifically right, but it's essentially the neurons get cut off when they're not used. So learning language early on in childhood is so wonderful, right? Because those neurons are making those connections. They use it or lose it, right? This idea of teaching children or exposing them even to language at an early age, really, really good and important. So the brain is changing, so that it could, it's constantly changing. In one moment, a child is cool and calm, walking out the door, happy, excited to go to school. And then by the time you reach the car, they're having a meltdown. They are wanting to sit on another car seat, or they are not wanting to follow their certain instructions, or their car seat is now pinching them and they are banging on the back of your seat. So brain is changing. Number 2, brain is changeable. Okay, so this idea that you can build a healthy brain, and you can influence how this child grows, right? So this brain is changeable, and we can help this child to adapt to certain things, right? So let's say a child might not like certain things, or be not able to cope with certain things. However, they are able to change, and their brain is changeable, so we can help them teach and allow them to learn how to cope with certain things. So changeable, brain is changeable. And then number 3 is that the brain is really, really complex. So we kind of went into this. There's a right brain, left brain, there's the upstairs brain, the downstairs brain. So there's lots of parts. There's the amygdala, there's the hippocampus, there's sensory input and how the brain interprets the sensory input. So all of these things make a huge impact on the child, how they're interacting with you, how they're able to interact with the world, what's happening from moment to moment. And so again, coming back to why are they, talking about this no drama discipline? What is their principle? Their principle is that we can help to build a really, really healthy, well-rounded brain for a human being that we want to raise, so that they are making good decisions, so that their brain has the capacity to show up in the world the way we would like them to show up. Now, so that's pretty much the gist of the second chapter. But one of the things they have that's really nice is that they have these pictures that you can look through, and it's my daughter has found these pictures very, very helpful, and she actually does talk about the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain, and so she's able to kind of relate to the things that I'm talking to her about. Anyway, there you go, chapter 2. If you have found this helpful, give me a like or share it with others who will find it helpful, and come back for chapter 3. Thanks.